All right, so we are in Japan and we are on day 2, and we are going to do some stretches that I feel like are helpful for while you're traveling in Japan because you're going to be walking a lot. And I remember the first time I ever visited Japan, I walked so much that it hurt. So this is going to help, hopefully. This is what I usually do for my stretch routine. So let's get into it. The first one that I always do, well, let's warm up first because it doesn't help to stretch while you're super cold, and it is kind of cold during winter here in Japan. So let's just do some push-ups. "15 should be good enough. I think that was 15. But the first one is going to be a very common stretch that I like to do. It's basically like you just lunge forward. I did this at the airport as well. But overall, it just helps with loosening up the legs. And I usually hold it for about, or I don't hold, I do this like little bounce motion for about 20 to 30 seconds, probably shorter. Probably closer to like 15 seconds. And then afterwards, I drop a little bit lower to where my knee touches the ground. And basically do the same thing for about, I'd say 10 to 15 seconds. I don't think I hold it for that long. But that's just me. I'm used to doing this, so my body has acclimated. But if you're stiff, then you might want to do it for longer. And then I go down like this, where my forward leg is now bent, and I basically do the same thing, try to go as low as I can as well. And I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what exactly each of these stretches does for your leg muscles, but I just know that it helps a lot, and it helps me get more flexible over time as well. And then the final one is just basically front splits, and I've kind of lost my front splits. I can't go all the way down anymore, but that's fine. It's still at a decent spot. And what I like to do is go a little bit back as well as going forward. And again, I do it for about 15 seconds or so. This is basically, I guess, going to be a follow along, so we'll do the other side as well. But I'm going to be trying to do a lot of these stretches pretty much every day because I will be going out quite a bit and walking a bit each day and running too. I'm trying to keep up with my whole fitness routine while traveling in Japan. And that's difficult. I've never been able to fully accomplish that, so I'm kind of trying my best to commit this time. And stretching is a huge part of it. I think I kind of stopped stretching while I was in California, which made me stiffer, and eventually I think that led to my lower back kind of hurting. And now I'm realizing I really need to maintain it and really need to be more consistent with it. And so I'm gonna get back into it while I'm here, not use it as an excuse oh, I'm in Japan, it's not really a place where I'm used to working out or exercising or stretching or anything. So yeah, even my stay last year, my 5-month stay, I did not stretch or do any exercise related things other than walk a lot, which is still good. It's good, but it's not enough. Okay, and then the last one is the middle splits. I like this one. I don't like it the most exactly, but it feels the most comfortable. You can just sit there. And for this one, you can also do a lot of stretches for your upper body as well. We'll be focusing mainly on lower body this time around, but for my upper body, I generally like doing the stretches that are very common, holding your elbow and then just trying to get your other elbow right here to reach and hit your leg. I'm not really accomplishing that right now because my upper body is quite stiff. And that's one of them. Another one is you cross your arms. And for me, right now, I'm sleeping on a futon in this room, and whenever I wake up, I sometimes feel like my body is a little achy, a little stiff, and I think these stretches will help a lot because I'm not used to sleeping on a futon. It's just a lot harder than my usual bed, I think. But yeah, we're going to the other side. And then arm circles is another good one. Very, very simple stretches that I'm sure pretty much everyone's learned in like PE at some point. But they're actually really helpful. So we just do both rotations both ways. Kind of did it multiple times at this point. But yeah, this is like a good stretch to do while doing some upper body stretches because it's sort of like killing two birds with one stone. Okay. And then reaching as far as you can go, chest to the floor. That's another good one. Honestly, this whole set of stretches, like, it's the same as when before I board a plane. But there will be a few other ones that we'll do right now that are more specific towards like walking. And it centers mostly around like your feet. So the ankle rotations is a good one. You can hear my bones cracking actually. But keeping your ankles loose is important so that you don't stiffen it, and when you're walking too much, it eventually starts hurting. The type of shoes you wear probably dictates more like whether or not you're gonna get pains compared to anything else, honestly. Like even if you were to do this whole stretch routine and you have like really bad shoes, you're still gonna feel a lot of pain while walking. So try to wear as comfortable shoes as you can. I remember the first time around, I did not wear comfortable shoes, and that's why I was hurting. And then there was like another time I visited where I walked probably even more than the first time I visited, and I was fine because I wore decent shoes. But basically rotate both ways, and then usually what we do afterwards is like try to touch the toes. I did a lot of these stretches while I learned Taekwondo as well. So I remember the teacher would tell us like, oh yeah, this is like stuff you would pay for physical therapy, like $200 or something a session. Obviously you don't need to do that. You just watch a YouTube video and then copy the stretches. But yeah, shoes very important. I wear Vessies personally. I still wear them. I think the ones I wear are like the ones that sort of look like boots. The Weekend Chelsea, I think. And they seem very comfortable to me, and I've traveled around in those shoes for like a good 2 years at this point. I've had to replace the insoles though, so that's unfortunate, but it sort of makes sense. Like they're gonna wear and tear if you use it that often, so it's hard to find good insoles, honestly, but I think the one I'm wearing right now seems to be decent. I don't know yet. I have to like test it out a bit more. I got it a bit recently. Eventually, like I feel like they stiffen, but the original insoles are like the best in my opinion. Okay. Let's do a few more specific to the legs again. So this one, you just sort of like put one leg, cross it over, have your elbow where your knee is, push it against, and hold on to your other leg on the floor, and just rotate. This one helps a lot with like the lower back as well, and your hip right here. And then what I like to do is also bend this one and pretty much apply the same forces in the same directions. And it focuses a bit more on like your glutes, I guess, or your butt. I kind of need to learn more anatomy of the body, like what everything is called. Okay, other side. But yeah, most of these stretches I did for like Taekwondo when I was a kid, and also for gymnastics when I was in my early 20s. Now that I'm in my late 20s, I really need to keep it up because my body's just gonna get like more and more susceptible to damage if I don't. And honestly, age is just a number. Like, I always think about how Jackie Chan, at the age of like 50 or 60, was still doing stunts, like crazy stunts, like not the simple kind. And I'm like, okay, all it takes is just consistent exercise and consistent like use of your body and consistent stretching, all that stuff to make sure you're still in good health when you're older. I think the obvious issue is that we just stop, basically, and we let our bodies get weaker that way. Okay, and this one, less for the legs, but I really need to do it personally. Just the seal stretch. It's good for the lower back. And I like the mid version where you put your elbows down. Do the same thing. It targets slightly higher on your back. And this also really helps. Okay, cat-cowing as well. As you can, well, if you've watched my airport video as well, where I was stretching right before boarding a plane, pretty much all of these stretches are the same, except for like very few. Like the ankle stretch was not there. That one's mostly for walking. So this is like cat-cowing. And I find it also helpful for the back. And there was one that I did, but I didn't mention. It's like butterflies, where you just hold your legs together and try to go down. But this is basically it. This is mostly what I do for stretching and most of how I ended up getting flexible. I just did this like constantly all the time, close to every day. And eventually I got like closer to the splits, got the front splits, and never really had too many issues with like, I guess, joint related problems or flexible stiffness, I guess. So just wanted to share it. This is what I will be doing every day, or like close to every day for Japan while I'm here, just because, again, need to be consistent with this. All right, that's pretty much it. Obviously, if you have like specific pains, then you want to address them and stretch those specific areas, but for me, this is good enough. Catch you guys in the next one.